I don't know that I can contain my excitement anymore. I can't contain my hype, my anticipation. It's all-time high, all-time levels, and surely won't result in end in tragedy and disappointment. Surely I won't get too big ahead and get self-inflated, and my ego won't skyrocket and implode. Surely that won't happen. But we'll recap the Giants-Ravens game. Huge win, huge win. We'll take a look ahead, a preview of the Jacksonville Jaguars game down in Jacksonville. And then I'm going to throw a couple of historical milestones at you, some numbers, some stats, just a little context as to why I am as high as I am on the New York Football Giants. Let us talk Giants. What a win, dude. Most amped I've been about a win in a very long time. Very excited about the Packers win. Unexpected, was surprised, in awe, excited, pumped my fist. Might have yelled a little bit. This Ravens game in that fourth quarter, I've never been louder. I've never been prouder. Lamar Jackson was 12-0 versus the NFC coming into this game. We gave him his first loss. Kimberly Martin of ESPN suggests Giants start losing games to secure draft position, that we need to tank, that we're in a rebuild. Hey, heads up. The rebuild happened. Now, you're going to get a lot of cocky Neal in this episode. A lot of cocky Neal. Like, it is insane what level I'm at right now. Just never been higher. They outgained us by almost 2-1 total yards. We only had 83 rushing yards. They had 211 rushing yards. It's kind of mystifying that they would even attempt passes against us when they were averaging 7 yards a play and like 7 yards a freaking carry, dude. Every time Kenyon Drake touched the ball, he was going for double digits. Like, just massive chunks of yardage. So it's weird that the Ravens just didn't stick to the run, dude. Like, we can't stop it. Why even throw? And then when they did throw, why are you throwing to anyone except other than Mark Andrews? Like, we obviously can't cover him. Just keep feeding Mark Andrews. No interceptions from Danny Dimes yet again. What was the big knock on Daniel Jones for a very long time? First 1, 2, even 3 years, I'd say. Turnovers. He turns the ball over too much in big spots, in the red zone, taking away points. That was the knock. He's not throwing picks. He's not really fumbling the ball. I think he did have one fumble in this one. I think he did get stripped here. But it's decreasing. The interceptions, the fumbles are decreasing year by year, week by week, game by game, snap by snap. He's getting better, even though he's not putting up the kind of numbers of Josh Allen, who everyone thinks that he's going to be, right? That was the whole thought when Brian Daboll was hired, was like, oh, now Daboll's going to do for Jones what he did for Josh Allen. And so far, we're not really seeing that, but I think we are seeing a healthy transition into the kind of quarterback that potentially could be a franchise quarterback. I think this is the year. People talk about the make or break year. So far, he's making it. I don't know that, like, what is he doing so far that's saying to you, this isn't our guy? Now, yes, I called for his absolute head in week 1 because, that red zone pick, that's rookie level, rookie year stuff. Maybe second year. You can't be doing that in your fourth year. And I tell you what, ever since Daboll reamed him out over that, he's been better. He's just been better at not turning the ball over. 2 sacks allowed by Baltimore. Of course, we saw Kayvon Thibodeau's first sack. Welcome. Good to have you on the in the books, on the board. His first sack couldn't have come at a better time when we're trying to hold on to the lead and we need a big play, and he gave it to us. Strip sack coming off the front side for Lamar Jackson. Knocks the ball out, and then it's just a crazy mad scramble to get to the ball that Leonard Williams covers, but like Kayvon Thibodeau's limbs were everywhere, I feel like, as he was chasing down the ball. Third down efficiency, we won again. It's insane. 50%. We converted 50% of our third downs. Baltimore converted 40%, which is like, I think, the high for the season for an opponent. But when it mattered, we had the lead and it was clutch time, come down the wire. The third downs weren't as easy to come by. And I think that's what makes Wink Martindale and this defense so special, is like, okay, we may give up a third down here and there to a Ravens team that is, yes, they have blown leads. They blew leads to Miami, big lead to Miami, blew lead to who else? They've had like 2 or 3 blown leads coming into this game. So it's not completely shocking that they blew this lead, especially since this is the third time that the Giants have come down from 10 points or more to win, which is on par with pretty much every season they won a Super Bowl. Saw that stat thrown out there, that fact. And I was like, how do you not feel on freaking cloud 9 about this team right now. How are you keeping your emotions in check? How do you keep your emotions in check when every stat and every figure that's being thrown out there, it's like, yeah, the last time this happened, Super Bowl. Last time this happened, Super Bowl. So, I feel, and it's scary how good I feel, because we're now entering the game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, where everyone has already like printed in the W, tattooed it on their arm, and it just feels like a humongous trap game. The next 4 games feel like trap games. Jaguars, Seahawks, Texans, Lions. I feel like if you're any other team, any other fan base, you're like, yep, those are 4 wins. Move it along. Let's go. Whereas Giants fans are like, I want to say it's a win, but damn it, this feels like a trap game. Like, we're all very well aware of us getting too high. Every time I've gotten too high with confidence and cockiness, it has bit me big time right on the patootie. So trying to keep my emotions in check, probably won't though, and you'll see why. We won the time of possession battle, which that's been the theme throughout the season, is we win time of possession because we put together long ass drives that are usually tie or go ahead. They're always like 10 plays, 70 plus yards with like 7 minutes off the clock, which is a thing of beauty. I love it. Baltimore had 10 penalties to our 3, which again is a testament to execution, right? So maybe we don't have the greatest roster. Maybe we are the worst 5-1 team in NFL history. Maybe people are like so flabbergasted by how this roster is winning games. It's not that surprising. It's the coaching. The coaching has put together a scheme that is great concept, and then has found a way to utilize this roster's talents, whatever they may be, crafting the concept and the scheme to the talent and the roster that they have, knowing that if they do that for that roster and tailor it to those personnel, and then coaching them through that throughout the week, that they know that roster can then execute on that scheme or their concept. It sounds very simple. It sounds like, hey, why don't more teams do this? But the Giants have been able to do it, and it's incredible. Jones was 19 to 27, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns, again, 0 picks. And again, I think Russell Wilson threw for that much in the first half of the Broncos-Chargers game that literally ended 19-16. That was the final score. So it again, if you don't watch these games and you're just looking at the in the newspaper, which no one does anymore, but if you're looking at the stats, the box score, the summary, you're like, okay, cool. Couldn't even crack 200, loser. But the throws he is making, now he did still, I think in the first half, run into a couple of bad situations where it's like, you didn't need to do that. I think he ran into maybe 1 or 2 sacks where it's like, pocket awareness, dude. Like, pocket awareness. Don't bring your head down and look at the rush. Like, keep the head up, strafe, move, and hit your guy. And you start to see that a little bit more in the second half. So it's, he's getting more comfortable, which is great. I would like to see him refrain from getting caught up in the rush coming at him and be more focused on what's happening downfield. There was another example where he's getting pressure from the right, but Thomas, he knows that Thomas, or was it Evan Neal or Thomas is on that side, and they just gently push him, the defender, past Jones, and Jones is able to step up and make a great throw. Barkley was pretty much shut down in the first half, and then he 16 carries for 69 yards in the second half with a tutty. Could have 2 touchdowns. Now, that last run where he could have the touchdown, he went down. Everyone's like, oh, such a smart play. It is, but I would have liked, I'm fine with him if he scores. We go up by 11, dude, with a minute 43. Bro, if we can't keep a 11 point lead in a minute 43, I understand if this was, the Chiefs-Bills game, playoff game from last year, where, it's just like there were 30 some odd points scored in the last 2 minutes. But that's not what this game was. And, it wasn't like Baltimore, their offense was moving it's weird because they did pick up chunks here and there, but I don't think they were, they really hit a wall towards the last like 3 to 6 minutes. It was just like, this is like a completely different team. Marcus Johnson had the most targets. Does that blow your mind? 4 targets, 2 catches, 25 yards. He dropped an easy touchdown on what a freaking beautiful, majestic play call by Kafka. That was was perfectly executed, and then Johnson dropped it. Luckily, fortunately, Kafka came back with yet another sexy ass call that got Wan'Dale Robinson open in the left flat, and Jones hit him for Robinson's first touchdown. Hello, looks like we got something cooking now with with Wan'Dale Robinson. I think he had 3 catches, 30 some odd yards, and a touchdown. He did have a drop on a big third down that I don't think came back to bite us, but it's like Jones gets free, scrambles, hits him about as good as you can under duress, and he drops it. Would have been a first down, but otherwise, I'd say it was a pretty decent game from Wan'Dale. A little disappointed in Darius Slayton. Only 1 catch, 18 yards on 3 targets. I think he might have had a drop, maybe even 2. But I was hoping to see that same kind of level of targets that he got against the Packers. I think he had 7 targets against the Packers, and I was like, be nice to have against Baltimore, which is not, their defense stepped up very recently. I think it was just last week they started to get good at stopping offenses. As we said, multiple blown leads. That's usually because of the defense. So, and then Barkley only 3 catches, 12 yards. I think as much as this new regime and Kafka have been better about how they're utilizing Saquon, and I tweeted this out, it was like, we're still not really giving him the best opportunities. We're definitely giving him more opportunities, which I love and I appreciate. And they're definitely doing more with him than, I wouldn't say, I guess, more than Shermer, but way more than Jason Garrett. Holy fudge, dude. Jason Garrett, what are you doing? So 3 catches, 12 yards. I guess and I've been talking about this for so long, I'm pretty sure people are sick of it, but the angle route, dude, he's only run that once in his career. He caught it and went for like 60, 70 yards. And I have yet to see them do that friggin' route again. I don't get it. Just run it. Like at least once a game, you should have that angle route in, because he's going to run it to perfection, and he's going to get people to bite, and it's going to be open, and it's going to be big yardage. Angle route. Look it up. I think the concept of the play is called a Texas pass route concept, but his actual route is an angle, where it's basically, you're not going straight ahead, but you're kind of on an angle, 45-degree angle out, and then a 45-degree angle in. So it looks like you're going, you could go this way in, you could go this way out, and instead you're angling up the field, vertical. Get that guy vertical, dude. And when you get Saquon vertical. So, I still think there's, and believe me, I think people are over the Wildcat. I think it worked. And then the Ravens game, it did not work at all. And you heard, what's his name? Charles Davis, I think was the other broadcaster in the booth with Ian Eagle. He was saying, I expect to see Saquon Barkley throw the ball this game. And part of me is like, well, if the broadcaster's saying that, you got to figure that the defensive coordinator for the Ravens is probably saying that to his team. In the same respect, let's see it. I think it could work. So let's at least try it, because right now it's either direct snap to Saquon, he runs it outright, or it's direct snap to Saquon and he hands it off, or he fakes it and then runs it himself. And it's like, to have that third element would be huge, dude. But I think they would have to do it maybe in the red zone, but that feels like that would be the time, and it is predictable. So let's do it at like midfield on a 3rd and short, and then, really just crank it up a notch. So Julian Love, the first Giants interception of the season, that happened in week 6, which is just, incredible that we're 5-1 and we only have 1 interception. But this interception couldn't have come at a better time. Of course, it comes after the fumbled snap on the shotgun set for Lamar. He chases the ball down, and then just decides to just heave it downfield, cross his body in the middle of the field, and Julian Love comes up, picks it, and then has a really good return. And at that point I was losing it. Love, I'll continue to say it every week. How the hell did this guy not see the field in 2019 and has seen the field somewhat sparingly in 2020 and 2021? How the hell? And maybe this is a product of that lack of on-field presence, that lack of snaps, was him just being in the room and learning and watching and learning. I'd like to think that's it, and not, wow, this was an incredible talent that's been buried on the roster for some stupid political bullshit reason. Who knows? But he's emerging as like a really great player. He had an amazing pass breakup in the end zone where it looked like Lamar had gotten away from the pressure and was going to throw a touchdown, which would have pulled my heart directly out the chest and thrown it on the ground and stomped on it. So that was a huge breakup. Yeah, I think he had another pass breakup. Fabian Moreau, dude, led the team in tackles. It's incredible that this guy was brought in kind of as a last minute move because of, well, from a fan's perspective, was because Aaron Robinson looked like such hot garbage in the preseason, was like, we can't roll into the regular season with this dude as the starter. And so that's when they signed Fabian Moreau, and he's been like, like what? He's been awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I wish he were like super locked down, because it's like the island of Dr. Moreau. That's just like an easy layup, but we're not quite there yet. Fabian Moreau, unbelievable. Jihad Ward had 2 tackles for losses. Boom. Dexter Lawrence had another sack and a tackle for loss. Dexter Lawrence, dude, he's definitely going to the Pro Bowl. I really hope he gets all pro, because he's putting up like he was already getting a great amount of praise and positive reception for his play in previous seasons, but he's already surpassed a lot of his season highs. We're in week 6. We're in week 7 now. We're not even halfway through the season. He's already hit or exceeded a lot of his previous highs. And he was already getting high grades before, mostly for his run defense, and that's what he's primarily known for. But now people are seeing, no, this dude can get after the quarterback as well. He can put pressure on the quarterback. So love what I'm seeing out of Dexter Lawrence. And O'Shane Zimenez, another guy that I always group and pair with Julian Love. He only had a tackle. It was a tackle for loss, but he's stepped up his game in the run defense, and has shown that he can apply pressure and get after the quarterback. So he's not quite on Julian Love's level in terms of productivity and output and grades and whatnot, but this is probably his best season. It has to be his best season. He was like a healthy scratch last year and the year before. It was just like, okay. Cool. Graham Gano, 1 for 1 in field goals, and then 3 of 3 on extra points. Jamie Gillen, a Scottish Hammer, 4 punts, averaged 46.3, twice inside the 20. That's what I like to see. And Gary Brightwell with an awesome return, 47 yards. That gave us some pretty good field position. I don't even know what we did with it. I don't think we did anything with it, but it was good to have that kind of return. Of course, we got the angle from the overhead camera, the robotic camera, which apparently was on a ship at sea during a storm, because it was all over the map, dude. It was just rocking and a rolling, and I got a little seasick, not gonna lie. So that was awesome. Got a little tipsy. Everybody in the camera getting tipsy. Lamar, not like crazy great numbers. 17 of 32, 210 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Kenyon Drake, who only shows up against the Giants, apparently. 10 carries, 119 yards, averaged 11.9 yards a freaking carry. Yet J.K. Dobbins averaged 2 a carry, okay? And Lamar ran for 77 yards on 7 carries. I mean, the guy's unreal. You can put a spy on him. You can put 2 spies on him. I don't know. I'm sure there have been teams that have shut him down. You don't see it very often. So, and I love his reaction to the game is like, it's going to be all right. Like, he just so calm and collected and chill, which is good when you start to go on a winning streak like Aaron Rodgers did after he was like, everybody relax. But I feel like now getting to the point where Aaron Rodgers is not seeming chill because he knows that the team's going to win. He's just chill because he's like, I'm over it. I think I'm going to retire. Mark Andrews, 7 catches, 106 yards, a touchdown, 11 targets. I mean, are we ever going to be able to cover a tight end ever again? I'm starting to think it's just like not in the cards for our franchise. We're just forever never going to be able to cover tight ends. Doesn't matter if you're a Pro Bowler, all pro, or literally a 3rd string guy off the practice squad. Like, you're gonna do numbers, dude. You're gonna do numbies. And then missing from the stat sheet, Jason Pierre-Paul, just nothing. No tackles, no sacks, no tackle for loss, no passes defended, nothing. Just a big goose egg, which is interesting. I mean, he was drafted in 2010. It's now 2022, 12-year, 13-year veteran. So he's probably, he's like 32, 33 maybe. But it was weird seeing him in the number 4, first and foremost. I was just like, whoa, he chose 4 as his number? 4? Any guy of that size who wears a single digit just gets 3 times larger. It's like the Grinch's heart at the end of that friggin' movie after he steals Christmas. Like, he grew 3 times that size the day. Him wearing 4, it's just like, whoa, what you want, dude? What do you want? Mr. Automatic Justin Tucker missed a field goal. And I tweeted this. It's our year. It has to be our year. It has to be our season when Mr. Automatic himself, the GOAT, best kicker from long range, misses a field goal. And he doinked. And he didn't just doink. He donked, dude. That was a donk. Loudest doink I've ever heard in my life. A thonk. Like, you could hear that next county over. So yeah, kudos. Los Gigantes de Nueva York. That's a big win. And yeah, people are saying the Ravens lost as much as the Giants won, but that can be our calling card. Just don't make mistakes. Let the other team make mistakes. Let them lose the game. It's not how you win, it's if you win. And we win. I really don't care how it happens. Just win, baby. God damn, I'm like Al Davis. Look at what you made me do. Look at what you made me do. I'm Al freaking Davis. So next up, for the New York Giants, again, like I mentioned, the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. They're 2-4, third in the AFC South so far. Doug Pissant Peterson, that rapscallion, that son of a b, is the head coach. They're 15th in the league in points scored, and they're 9th in the league in points allowed. So they should be 4-2. They're 2-4. They have an easier schedule, and as of right now, Pro Football Reference has them as a playoff team. And I don't know that I don't necessarily disagree with it. I know there are a lot of people that think that the Jaguars are frauds and that all this hullabaloo, all this sound and fury signifies nothing. I wouldn't be surprised if they win the division. The Colts are weird, man. I don't get the Colts at all. I don't know how you lose big to the Jaguars at home, then you shut out the Chiefs, or no, you don't shut the Chiefs. You beat the Chiefs. I just don't know. It seems a little too all over the place for me, for my liking. And the Titans, I don't know what's going on with the Titans. To be frank, I really don't know. I mean, they could very easily just become a powerhouse, and seems like they have all the necessary components. But the Jags are kind of like upstart, interesting to keep an eye on. That's why I think this is a major trap game. They have a top 10 rushing offense and a top 10 rushing defense, and they're top 5 in turnover percentage. So what has driven our success throughout this great hot start has been our ability to run the damn ball 2022. And we've been able to run the ball and run it successfully. Not all the time, but we usually end up on the right side of things. And so that's going to be a challenge for us, because if they really do truly shut down the run game and we're forced to throw when it's expected. Now granted, there was some kind of stat floating around about completion percentage above expectation or something like that, over expectation. And Daniel Jones has been put in some pretty horrible situations in terms of down and distance, along with the pressure rate. I mean, he's 30.3% pressure rate is just astronomical. So I don't know if we're going to be able to run the ball. And this will be a great test. Like, can we get by on the pass? Will Daniel Jones have to throw more than 30 attempts, which I don't think he's really done so far this year. So that'd be interesting. Not being able, what are we going to do when we aren't experiencing any kind of success in the run game for a full 60 minutes as opposed to just one half? And then when we're going up against a top 10 rushing offense, again, look at what happened in Baltimore. Baltimore's got to be like a top 5 rushing offense, I would think. And, we still beat the Ravens, but damn, it's kind of hard to envision replicating that game after game, week after week. Like, are we really going to give up 200 yards rushing and 7 yards of rushing play every week and win? That just doesn't seem like a legitimate, sound approach. I don't think that's the fundamental way to get to go on a streak. But the Jags offense is 8th in turnover percentage. They're not that great in the red zone, which bodes well for us because we are great in the red zone, both offensively and defensively. And they're 12th in third down percentage on offense, but 24th on defense. So I think that's where we're going to win the battle. We've won the third down efficiency battle every week, I believe, except maybe against Dallas, which we lost. So I really think if we do get into third down situations, Kafka and Jones have shown that they're able to overcome it. I mean, how many 3rd and 14s or 3rd and longs, 3rd and 10 plus situations have we seen in the past where it's like, well, here comes a fucking check down or screen that goes nowhere, or a shotgun draw. It was a guarantee. Now you look at 3rd and 14, 3rd and 10 plus, and it's like, we're going to pick this up. We're going to find a way to pick it up. Jones going to move, pick up some time, and then find someone. The flip side of that, our defense against their offense on third down, that'll be a good test for our defense to get off the freaking field. So I'm imagining I don't know why, but I'm picturing a lot of field goals in this one, at least from Jacksonville. I think it's going to be a lot of field goals. They don't run a ton of RPO, and they do a decent amount of play action, which makes sense if you're going to be that good at running the ball, and that just opens up the play action a lot more. The time to release is 1.9 seconds, which leads me to believe they have schemed it that way. Peterson and his crew have schemed it that way to get the ball out of Trevor Lawrence's hands, take a lot of the decision making out of his hands and say, hey, just get the ball to this guy quick, let him make some moves. Jones is at 2.2 seconds. So I think, you could say, oh, well, that means they're under a lot of pressure. And I think that is the case with Jones, where I said the pressure was 30.3%. So the 2.2 seconds makes more sense because it's like he's just getting pressured and has to get rid of it. Whereas Jacksonville only has an 18% pressure rate, which leads me to believe that they're intentionally designing the plays to get the ball out of his hands quicker. And it's not so much like a 3-5 step drop, trying to, pat the ball and go. It looks like they're doing a lot of like maybe bubble screens, flats, slants, stuff of that nature. The average depth of target is around 7 yards, which is interesting considering their time to release is 1.9 seconds. So it must be a lot of, maybe not a lot of hitches per se, but a lot of like, let's get the ball to our guy going up the field. So slants, stuff like that, skinny posts, maybe even quick outs where it's like, we're getting a lot of padding on the outside, not so much press, and the guy can make a move quickly upfield as opposed to coming back to the ball. 70% of the throws from Trevor Lawrence are on target. Only 14% are considered bad throws. And Jones has fairly similar numbers to that. I think slightly better. More throws on target and less bad throws. So for all the Trevor Lawrence naysayers, he's holding his own. I don't think he's doing that poorly. They have a pretty decent running back duo in James Robinson and Travis Etienne. From the stats, it looks like Etienne is maybe the third down back, the receiving back, has a lot more targets than James Robinson. Christian Kirk was their big free agent signing. They gave him a lot of money. A lot of people think not deserved. I'm leaning that way after having him on my fantasy team and seeing him come up short of the projections so many times. But he's their top wideout. They also have Zay Jones, Marvin Jones. Seems like Zay Jones and Marvin Jones stretch the field more than Christian Kirk, which is kind of interesting. I thought Kirk was more of a vertical threat. And then Evan Ingram. It's the Evan Ingram revenge game. It does look like he's actually among the lowest in drop percentage, if you can believe it. But he's also among the lowest amongst receivers for Trevor's QB rating, which means when he throws to him, the catch percentage isn't exactly there. And if he does catch it, he's not doing a whole lot with it. So I'm not too worried about Evan Ingram. That being said, he is a tight end, and we stink against tight ends. So I'd imagine he could carve us up. Really hope that doesn't happen because I might jump off the building if it does. In my opinion, on the offensive, when we're on offense and they're on defense, I think looking at the numbers and analytics that we should attack Shaquille Griffin and Andre Sisco as a safety and Tyson Campbell as a DB. All of those DBs have allowed a QB rating of 100 plus. So I think we got to look at matchups or setting guys in motion and designing plays to exploit those three DBs. Looking at the week to week for the Jaguars, they lost to the Commanders 2022 in the opening week. The defense forced three turnovers, but did allow 305 passing yards from Carson Wentz. Yikes. Week 2, they won. They shut out the freaking Colts 24-0. They only allowed 9 first downs and only 54 rushing yards and forced another 3 turnovers. That was a huge game from the defense. A nice bounce back game. Offense played well as well. Offense had almost 400 yards total yards in the opening week. They had almost 350 total yards in the second week, 21 first downs in week 2. So the offense had a fairly decent game there. Then they went to Los Angeles to play the Chargers, won 38-10, over 400 total yards. In offense, 151 rushing yards. And the defense only allowed 26 rushing yards for the Chargers. Offense had themselves a day, 25 first downs. No turnovers. And then they came up to Philadelphia. And it's not always sunny, folks. Yeah, they didn't get torched by the Eagles. 29-21. They lost by 8. In Philadelphia, not too shabby. I mean, the offense turned the ball over 5 times, right? So that was a pretty horrific performance from the offense. Only 13 first downs, less than 150 passing yards. The defense, though, allowed 210 rushing yards. Oof. Yikes. Then they go home to Jacksonville and they lose to Houston 13-6. The offense had 422 total yards, 136 rushing yards. They did have 2 turnovers. The defense only allowed 132 passing yards and 116 rushing yards, less than 250 total freaking yards, only 15 first downs. They somehow lost 13-6 to Houston. I tell you, Houston's interesting. Then just last week, they lost in Indianapolis to the Colts, 34-27. This game was outrageous, dude. The Jaguars had 243 rushing yards. And then their defense gave up 389 passing yards, which I should note is remarkable because Matt Ryan had 37 pass attempts in the first half, 0 interceptions. I mean, that's like incredible. So, yeah, that's what we're dealing with. It seems like we should find some success passing the ball. Seems that way. Feels like we probably, with the exception of the game against the Eagles, which the Eagles are a whole nother ball of wax, like doesn't seem like they're going to be that susceptible to the run. So we're going to have to get a little more creative with the passing game, which I fully have full confidence in my Kafka to do. And so I think we come out with a win. Again, I see this as a trap game. The line, as soon as the games were over, the Sunday games, I think, or even before the Sunday night game, the Vegas put out the betting lines, the spread for the game against the Jaguars, and the Giants were not favorites, which is not that crazy because it is in Jacksonville. I think if it was in New York, I would say the Giants would probably be favored by 3, maybe 2.5. Instead, we're underdogs with a plus 2.5. And I immediately took that, put a lot of money on that because I really do think that we should win the game. Okay, we should win. Will we win? I don't know if I can officially. It's a tough one. I give us like a 95% probability of winning, but I would not be completely shocked if this is a trap letdown game where we make some mistake towards the end of the game and we lose by 3. I don't see it, obviously don't see us getting blown out. I don't see this game getting away from us at all, but I do see us, maybe we're the ones that make the bonehead mistake towards the end of the game and the Jaguars take advantage of it. Now, if we do lose, I'm not hitting the panic button, dude. Like I'm not like getting all out of sorts because we lost to the Jaguars, because I do think they're a tricky team. I don't think they're just like a pushover or a walkover. So I'm not going to get like nuts if we lose that game. I still think we can make the playoffs if we lose that game. And even with that said, like this next 4-game stretch, if we go 2-2, dude, I'm not panicking. If we go 2-2 over the next 4, I'm not panicking. As long as in those 2 losses, we're seeing competitiveness and we're seeing mistakes that can be fixed. We're seeing bad luck. Sometimes it just happens. You have bad luck. Sometimes it's a bad call. So if we lose 2 games and it's close and it comes down to the wire and, we could have won it, I'm okay with that. We get swept, dude. And I know, like, Mets fans know what I'm talking about. We're like, well, we just need to take 1 of 3 from the Braves. Like, worst case scenario is we get swept, which can't happen. It won't happen. So if we do go swept by these 4 teams, we do not deserve to be in the playoffs. It's that simple. And we can put any notion of the playoffs to bed. And we can, right now we're making the playoffs. That's like foregone conclusion. We're making the playoffs. But if we get swept, no. If we go 2-2, I'm not going to get crazy about it. If we go 1-3, that's where I get a little antsy because it's like, this is the stretch of the schedule where we need to get some insurance, get some padding. Because if we go 4-0, dude. If we go 4-0, we are rolling into the Big D, Jerry's World, Dallas, on Thanksgiving at 9 times. 9-1. Whoa, dude. We go into Dallas 9-1. That's going to be pretty cool. So we could be 9-1 or we could be 5-5, and that would suck. And then, I think that's where I would begin to spiral. I wouldn't spiral too hard because it's like, at least they gave us that 5-1 start. We can always look back on that and be like, man, I've never felt more alive. We'll always have that. We'll always have 5-1. But yeah, that would suck. So if you're looking ahead, which you shouldn't if you're a player or coach, day by day. But as a fan, we can because it's fun. Looking at playoffstatus.com. Now, normally I don't look at playoffstatus.com to look at the playoff picture, NFC playoff status or AFC playoff status. I normally don't look at this until mid-November, late November, December. I usually don't look at that. And I mean, there have been a couple of Giant seasons where it's like... I mean, they already have us at 99%, no playoffs, so it's like I don't need to keep checking. But this is maybe the earliest I've ever checked playoffstatus.com. I checked it. Giants currently, if the season ended today, would be the 5 seed, right? The Cowboys would be the 6 seed. The Rams would be the 7 seed. Eagles would be the 1 seed. Vikings 2. Bucks 3. 49ers 4, which those are some weak-ass 3 and 4 seeds. And so that would be the playoff seeds if the season were to end today. Am I jinxing us? Yeah, I guess you could say I'm jinxing us. But guess what? I don't fear the jinx anymore. No, that's how good I feel. You shouldn't live life in fear, okay? Donnie Darko, don't live in fear because fear holds you back. And there's all kinds of quotes about fear that I don't remember right now, but they're really cool and you should remember them. So don't be shy as a fan to talk about the future and your hopes and your aspirations and saying we're going to make the playoffs and here's how the playoffs are going to look. Yes, it's only week 7, but god damn it, when have we been in this position before? I mean, realistically been in this position before, not 2020 where it's like, holy shit, we're 6-9 and we could win the division at 6-10 and go to the playoffs. Like, this feels icky. So yeah, Eagles, Vikings, Bucks, Niners, Giants, Cowboys, Rams. That was from 1-7. The wild card matchups will be the Rams at the Vikings, Cowboys at the Bucks, Giants at the Niners. That would be the wild card round. I gotta think, and maybe, the season's young, okay? A lot could still happen, and the Vikings could completely shit the bed. I think if they stay on the course, though, stay on the path, and they do end up with the 2 seed, that means they're doing some good things. And maybe the Rams right the ship. I don't know. Maybe Matthew Stafford, conjures up that magic from last year and is able to make a run. But I think the Vikings come out of that with a win. Cowboys at Bucks. I think the Cowboys win this round. I really do. I think the Bucks are kind of in shambles. I think Tom Brady's going through divorce. He's catching shit for his schedule and how he's not, taking days off and not there. And, Todd Bowles, the head coach, had to address it. Just feels like they're not where they, even the year that they won the Super Bowl in 2020, like they were 11-5 wild card. They did not win their division, but it never felt like this, where it's like, oh, we're just can't beat the Steelers. Rookie quarterback who leaves for a concussion, and then Mitch Trubisky comes and wins the game. What? So I think the Bucks, I wouldn't be surprised if they just don't straight up don't make the playoffs. I'll get to that in a little bit. And then Giants at Niners, I have full confidence that if we continue to play this style of football, winning football, I think we can go into San Francisco and come out with wouldn't even be an upset in my opinion, but I think they come out with the win. Divisional round would then be Cowboys at Eagles, Giants at Vikings. That Cowboys at Eagles divisional round game, that'll be fun to watch. That is going to be fun. And then Giants would go to Minnesota and play the Vikings. And this is where I'm trying to check myself before I wreck myself, and it's not working because I have the Giants beating the Vikings in Minnesota, which means we'd be the Giants at Eagles or Cowboys for the NFC Championship. And either one of those is going to be, I might not make it. I might not live through those games because that's going to be intense. Now, would I rather do Giants at Eagles or would I rather do Giants at Cowboys for the NFC Championship? Great question. Gun to my head, on a cliff, about to push me. I think I would rather beat the Eagles in Philly for the NFC Conference Championship. Only because I don't think we've ever gone to Philly in the playoffs and won. It's crazy to think that we've played them for so long in so many games, and I think we've only played them once in Philly in the playoffs, and we lost, and it was not a big, I don't think we were expected to win, but we kept it close and we had the opportunity to win, and we lost it towards the end. And we've beaten the Eagles in the Meadowlands at East Rutherford in 2000 in the playoffs. We lost to them 2008. Oh my God, that was debilitating from a mental health. We've beaten the Cowboys in Dallas in the playoffs. Did we host them in the playoffs at Giants Stadium? I don't think we did. So personally, I'd like to see us beat the Eagles in Philadelphia on their home turf to go to the Super Bowl. That would be fucking so awesome. So that's kind of my very premature playoff predictions. So absurd. Now, here's why that's probably not going to happen. After I went through all that spiel, here's probably why it won't happen. Falcons are looking kind of decent, my man. They're making a push. They just beat the 49ers. They have the easiest remaining schedule in the league, not just NFC. Their remaining opponents have a 36% winning percentage, and that's mostly because they're in the NFC South, which stinks. Now, the Bucks, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, do have the third easiest remaining schedule in the league, I believe, but it just feels like they're falling apart. It really does. I don't know that they're going to get back on track. And maybe this is where they miss Bruce Arians, and they would need his leadership. But also, the NFC North is up for grabs. I think the NFC West is the most up for grabs. Seems like every single team in that division can win it. And the Packers, okay, so you're pretty much discounting or counting out the Lions and Bears. Okay, so really it's a two-horse race with the Vikings and Packers. You still gotta have the feeling that the Packers are gonna switch it on, and they're still gonna get hot because they've done it in the past, and maybe this is the year that they don't do it, and that's what causes Aaron Rodgers to take a good hard look at his career and be like, you know what, I think I've done enough. But they have the fourth hardest remaining schedule in the conference. playoffs. So that would lead me to believe that the Vikings have the edge there. And how can you argue against me saying that both wild card teams are coming out of the NFC East, or that three of the four teams in the NFC East are going to the playoffs? Like, Eagles probably win a division. Cowboys or Giants coming in second or third. But they're each going to have such a good record that they're both getting wild card spots. Now, the issue is the Giants have the fifth hardest remaining schedule, and that's largely due because they still have a lot of NFC East games left on the slate. We got to play the Vikings, got to play the Eagles twice, the Cowboys, and the Colts, which who knows where they're at by the time we get to play them towards the end of the season. But those right now are our toughest opponents, or the opponents with the best records. That's why it's so crucial that we do we do sweep this next 4-game set. That would be huge, because then you at 9-1, it would have to be a monumental collapse to miss the playoffs. But as we'll get to later on, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, bro. The Commanders have the toughest remaining schedule because they're also in the East, and they got to face the friggin' Cowboys, Eagles, and Giants, all with winning records. Carson Wentz had surgery on his broken thumb, which means Taylor Heineke is now the quarterback. And so wouldn't it be so apropos that friggin' he leads them on a friggin' tear, and all of a sudden the Commanders are in the mix? Wouldn't that just seem appropriate? So here's where I'm going to get into hot starts, our history of hot starts for the New York Football Giants. 2022 Giants have won 3 games after trailing by 10 plus points, which I mentioned before. It's tied for the most in a single season in franchise history. The other 3 seasons were 2016, our last playoff appearance, 2011 we won the Super Bowl, 2007 we won the Super Bowl. So that, again, it's a good sign. It's a good omen. I like that. Shows we got gumption. Freaking Daniel Jones, dude, had like 0 come from behind wins and game-winning drives heading into the season. Now has like 3 or 4. But coaching doesn't matter. Like, get the hell out of here. In the Super Bowl era, okay, so that's 50 some odd seasons from 1966 to 2022. The Giants have only had 19 seasons with a winning record, which I thought was cray-cray. But again, the 70s and then again, the 2010s. Here are the seasons in which the Giants in which winning teams had a 4-1 record or better through the first 5 games, and how they finished the season. 1986, they went 14-2, won the Super Bowl. 1989, 12-4, lost the Rams in the divisional round. Screw you, Flipper Anderson. 1990, 13-3, Super Bowl champions. 1993, lost to the 49ers in the divisional round. So it's playoffs. In 2008, they went 12-4 and lost the Eagles in the divisional round. So there have been 7 teams that started 5-1 or better in the Super Bowl era. So we mentioned 86. So in 86, they started 5-1, finished 9-1. It's a strong finish, Super Bowl. 89, they started 5-1. They finished 7-3, lost to the Rams in divisional round. Screw you, Flipper Anderson. In 90, started 6-0, and then has 7-3 finish, Super Bowl. 93, they went 5-1 to start and 6-4 finish, lost to the San Fran in the divisional round. And then 2008, a 5-1 start, 7-3 finish, lost to Philadelphia in the divisional round. And then this is a season that, so in 2022, 5-1 start, who knows how we finish? God, I hope we finish strong. The only season in which we started 5-1 or better and didn't make the playoffs was in 2009. So I thought I'd focus in on 2009 for a little bit. 2009, we had a 5-1 start, and we had a 3-7 finish. Now, why is that? Well, we had back-breaking losses to the Chargers and the Eagles. I vividly remember the Chargers loss because it was like right around my birthday, and we were having like kind of a get-together celebration. And then Phillip Rivers just yanked my spine out of my bod and tossed it in the end zone for a touchdown. We were 8-6. With a chance to make the playoffs, and we got blown out. I mean, our doors blown off the hinges by the Panthers and then the Vikings. Now, the Vikings went on to, should have been the NFC participant in the Super Bowl, but Brett Favre threw that stupid interception against the Saints in the NFC Championship. So, all right, maybe that's understandable. I have no idea if the Panthers made the playoffs that year. But you might say, what the hell happened? Well, we were a top 10 offense, if you remember. That's when I think John Gruden gave us the nickname JetBlue, or we got the nickname JetBlue because of Hakeem Nicks, Steve Smith, Mario Manningham. And so the offense was clicking. I think Eli might have been a Pro Bowler or should have been a Pro Bowler. Offense was not a problem. Our top 10, 11 players in approximate value, which is a Pro Football Reference metric, were all on offense. So, I mean, it was all offense. That's why we won games. That's why we stayed in games. It was the defense that really fell apart. And that was mostly due to injuries. Michael Boley, Aaron Pierce, Danny Clark. Aaron Pierce only played in 9 games. Michael Boley and Danny Clark only played in 11. Kenny Phillips missed all but 2 games. Chris Canty only played 8 games. So it was a lot of injuries on that side of the ball. And I have to believe opponents exploited that and took advantage of it. So, and that's, for me, that's the only thing I think that could really derail the season. Injuries. And that's why I feel confident in the team, because we've already had a ridiculous amount of injuries, and yet we're still winning games. I mean, it's preposterous to think about the level of injuries we've had and the numbers of games missed. I mean, Azeez Ojulari has only played in one game? We're going to get him back eventually. We're going to get Shane Lemieux and Nick Gates back, I think, on the offensive line. I mean, right now we're playing with backup interior offensive linemen. Who knows if Galladay and Tony come back and what kind of productivity they give us, but it can't hurt us, I don't think. So you got that going for you. So that's why I feel like odds are we're going to the playoffs, and that's why I'm so confident. Even with the injuries, I think we've shown that we can overcome them, whereas in 2009 we just flat out couldn't. That being said, please no one else get hurt. Holy crap, I don't want to test that theory too much. I know that Leonard Williams, this was his first game back. Did he make a lot of headway in terms of numbers and stats? Not really, but good to have him on the field. Good to have him, the big cat pushing the line back. But it was an interesting little exercise, because Coughlin, I mean, holy crap, dude. Look at Coughlin's reign here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 seasons in a row where we had a 4-2 or better start through 6 weeks, through 6 games. And yet we missed the playoffs in 2010. We missed the playoffs in 2009, and we missed the playoffs in 2012. That's the most interesting to me, because 2010, you start 4-2, you had 6-4 finish. That feels like it should be a playoff team. But of course, miracle at the Meadowlands too. Oh my God. Haunting. And then 2012, 4-2 start and the 5-5 finish, which sucks. But I mean, that's how crazy those 3 seasons alone show you just how banana land professional sports, not just the NFL, but professional sports can be. The fact that all 3 seasons had pretty similar records. It was 9-7, 9-7, 10-6, or 10-6, 9-7, 9-7. We literally finished about the same every season, but only one of those seasons we got to go to the playoffs and win the Super Bowl. So crazy. It's like if the ball bounces a different way in 1 or 2 games that we don't even play in, we make the playoffs, and who knows what happens from there. Fossil never really got off to that hot a start. I think he only got off to one good start, and that was the Super Bowl season. 4-2 start, 8-2 finish. Most other seasons were 3-3, 2-4, but then finished strong in 98, 97, and 2002. I mean, 2002, I wrote an article about a 2002 season. I mean, we had a 2-point loss to the Texans and an overtime loss to the Titans, which was very avoidable. And if we win both those games, then we finish 12-4, and we probably win the division, get a home game in the playoffs. And we had an 8-4 conference record as it is. So you have to imagine any tiebreakers at 12-4. You would imagine that we would win the tiebreaker there. So it's possible we could even, it would be nice to get that bye week and then host a game at Giant Stadium, as opposed to going to San Fran and then having that fiasco happen. Good God. So Reeves was, Reeves had the 1-5-1 start, and then didn't have great starts. Although the 94 season was interesting. Started off 3-3, finished 6-4, won our last 6 in a row after losing 4 straight. We just missed the playoffs because we had the same record as the Packers, Lions, and Bears, all of whom made the playoffs. But we lost to Detroit in overtime, which sucks. If we win that, we get in the playoffs. And we also had a 10-9 loss versus the Cardinals, which was a backbreaker, and a 6-6 NFC record. So yeah, I mean, you beat the Cardinals and the Lions, you got an 8-4 record. Good God, I would hope you make the playoffs then. Some other seasons that I thought were interesting in terms of starts and finishes. How different could the 85 season have been? We didn't get off to a crazy hot start with 3-3 through 6, but then we finished 7-3, and we had all 6 losses we had that year were by a score or less. All six. So very possibly, if the ball bounces another way, we could have been freaking 16-0, and then we would have had a home field advantage, I believe, because the Bears were 15-1 that year, something like that. We ended up losing to the Bears in the divisional round, but if Chicago had to go to the Meadowlands, it'd have been a different story. I don't know. Yeah, the 70s were interesting to look at, only because they're before my time, but we played in the Century Division and then the Capital Division. Like, whoa, okay. So you're so programmed to seeing the NFC East that's like, oh, this was completely different years ago. Only two, prior to 1980 when I was born, and in the Super Bowl era, there were only two times we got off to a good start, and it was 68 and 72. We were 4-2 start, and then 4-4 finish, 3-5 finish. But 72, there was two losses by a score or less. If they win both, they make the playoffs, maybe. And then 68, if they had three losses by one or score or less. I don't know if they win those, if it really does much, because the playoff format sucked back then. It was like, if you win the division, you win the championship. It's like, wait, don't you have to play there's no playoffs? So the other season that I kind of glossed over, well, I guess there's two seasons that I kind of glossed over that are kind of, one is doesn't fly under the radar. I think every Giants fan knows this. The other one is interesting. So 2015, we started 3-3, finished 3-7. Holy smokes. We had 8 losses by a score or less. If we win just 4 of those games, we're 10-6. We win the NFC East and we host Green Bay in the wild card. Who's to say what happens? We probably don't win. But who knows? Aaron Rodgers, is he a different quarterback away from Lambeau Field? Next at 11. We had a top 10 offense that year, and that was primarily because of the passing attack, Eli to OBJ. We had the 4th most points scored in the NFC, and all 3 top scoring teams that were above us made the playoffs. But our defense blew. We were among the worst on defense, 2nd most points allowed in the NFC, and 5 teams with the least points allowed all made the playoffs. So the top 5 scoring defenses all made the playoffs. So it's like, if we just had an average defense, dude, if we just had an average defense, we get in the playoffs, and then who knows? Like, that's that's like the Giants mantra is, like, we get in the playoffs, and then who knows? 2018 was the other season that I think flies under the radar, and that people look back and they're not going to think about it, but I do. And I honestly forgot about this. So we started 1-5. We finished 4-6. We finished strong that year. Would you believe me if I said to you that 8 losses were by a score or less? 8. And if that we win 4 of those, just half of those, we're 9-7 in the playoffs. Do anything for you? I think we would have gone to Chicago maybe and played the Bears, and then they would have double doinked, and then maybe we go to the divisional round. So that's just something interesting to think about. That 2018, it was there for the picking, and then for one reason or another, our defense not being able to hold on to leads, because I think their offense was not that great, wasn't stellar, but it was oozing with potential, dude. OBJ, Eli, Saquon, that's like the holy trinity right there, like, and then Evan Ingram, kind of, sort of, whatever. But like those 3, that was almost enough to propel us into the playoffs. Even behind a shitty offensive line, if we just had a better defense and maybe just a better offensive line, like, people are going to look back on that year and be like, yeah, we were 5-11, whatever. But you forget how close we were to being right there on the precipice. So yeah. There is one more season that I missed in this rundown here. There's 2020, which I don't know if I want to talk about 2020. It's such a weird freaking season. But I mean, if we're being honest, started 1-5. Daniel Jones got hurt. A 5-5 finished. 5 losses by a score or less. 5 losses by a score or less. If we win one of those, we're 7-9. We win the division, and we host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who we took to the gun. If you remember, it was just that failed 2-point attempt that prevented us from tying the game, but we lost by 2 when we hosted them on I think it was Monday Night Football. And of course, Tampa went on to win the Super Bowl, but people forget Washington almost beat them at home. So there's that. So there's that season, and then the other season was 2005. 4-2 start, 7-1 finish, and then we got shut out at home against the Panthers in the wild card. We had 2 overtime losses. If we win those, we're 13-3 because we finished 11-5. If we win those, we go 13-3 with home field advantage and a wild card bye, which was probably necessary given our performance in the wild card against Carolina, which Carolina was no joke either. I think Carolina was 11-5 that year. And did they go to the playoffs that year? I mean, the Super Bowl? No, they went to the Super Bowl the previous year. No, 2 years ago. 2 years before that. But it was like Jake Delhomme, Steve Smith, that whole crew. God dang. Was Muhammad on that team? I don't know. Jabril Peppers? Whoa, dude. All right, so that's the Giants.